Hello and welcome to another episode of Core Balance Coaching, where we get together once a week to talk about a different topic related to getting out of the back pain cycle for good. This week's topic is footwear. I decided to follow up last week's topic, which was about walking, with the best thing you could put on your feet for walking. So that was my main reason for doing this topic, and also I have a history of foot problems. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Dr. Ryan Peebles. I am a physical therapist by profession. I've dedicated the last 20 years of my life to better understanding and reversing the root causes of chronic lower back pain. And if I had a second specialty after lower back pain, it would be the feet. And it's precisely because I've had an issue with my feet, both feet at different times in my life, and I relate it all back to the muscle imbalances that I teach about. So if you have back pain and you also have foot problems and you don't believe they're related, wow, a bird just flew in here. Holy cow, look at that. Can you guys see that? Hey, buddy. All right. That reminds me of Bernie Sanders when he was doing that speech and a bird landed on his podium. That was kind of weird. Cool. I'll have to go back and watch the replay of that. Okay. He's safely out of the office. So what I was saying was, so the same issues, the same muscle imbalances, the ones that I teach about, these ones here, that cause lower back problems and neck problems and hip problems, also they affect your feet too. And so that's why I believe I've had a history of foot problems, and I've spent a lot of time on my feet and studying the feet. So my goal today is to relay some of the most helpful information that I've found over the years to you, to help you and put the best thing on your feet for getting out there and walking, which is really good for your back. So welcome if you're here live. Thank you for being here live. And if you're catching the replay, I know that's the most popular way people catch these videos. Either way, hit that like button and help support the stream so we can keep producing this stuff and spread the word to other people on YouTube that can find this as well. So we have a lot to get into today, so why don't I'm just going to get right into it. First, I already shared a little bit about my story and how the muscle imbalances that cause lower back pain also affect your feet, right? It's all connected. The hip bone is connected to the thigh bone, and it goes down the chain. So it's really important that your connection with the ground is a healthy one, and most of the time when we're up and moving about, that's our feet. And so we're going to talk about my opinion, and also this is based on research of what is the best, overall best thing you can put on your feet. And there is research to back this up. So I want you to know that this is research based. However, I'm not going to go into the research today. As I usually do on these streams, I go into the research sometimes too much, and I'm going to spare you and just say the research is out there about this. I want to take a moment to say hi to the people in the chat. Hello, Joan. Hello, Elaine and David. Thank you for being here. And I will be addressing the chat later on when we get to the Q&A portion. So I see your questions, and I will be answering them. So thank you for being here and for asking about that. And I knew that it was day 3 that you're on, Joan, so no worries about that. Hello, Patricia. Good to see all of you here. Okay, the next thing on my list is to tell you what is the best, absolute best thing for your feet. And the reason this stream is called Footwear and not Shoes is because my strong opinion is that the absolute best thing you could put on your feet is nothing. Barefoot is the most natural way to get around, is the way that we were designed. And if you know anything about the strategy of core balance training, it is modeled after human development, after human design. We are modeling the way that we connect with our bodies and our core with the way that infants and babies develop. the most natural possible way. And so yes, it would make sense that I believe the most natural, healthiest way to walk around is with the things that you were designed with. And anything that you put on your feet, the more supportive, the more anything, the farther away it is from barefoot, it is farther away from our natural design. And it may work and it may not, but it is a goal of mine to get as close as possible to operating this body the way that it was intended. And I have to give a strong warning to you that if you currently wear supportive footwear, that you should not switch to barefoot abruptly. That is a recipe for your body to go haywire. And let me tell you from experience, I have done this. I have gone from supportive footwear. The footwear industry is really funny. It's interesting. They give you these extremely high-tech shoes, and actually the research is showing that they're actually bad for our feet. And the footwear industry keeps making them, and we like them. The funniest thing is, as a society, we like them and we buy more, so they make more, and then the shoes get even more contoured and things, and it's this cycle that we are in, and it's hard to get out of. And so I'm going to go through the focus of this stream is going to be my strategy for getting out of this cycle of highly supportive, highly pointed toes, and raised heels type of footwear in a gradual, healthy way to get you back more towards natural. So I will say it again, and I'm going to say it 10 different times. If you don't understand the way I said it the first time, I'm going to say it 10 more times in 10 different ways. You cannot go abruptly from highly supportive footwear to barefoot or barefoot style footwear. We call that minimalist shoes, which I'm going to show you a bunch of. Abruptly. It has to be very gradual because your body will not like it. Okay, so get that across. The next topic is, what is the strategy to go from highly supportive shoes, which I believe most of us, unless you were raised with like hippie parents that had you running around barefoot your entire childhood and you kind of stuck with it, you've probably fallen into this kind of lifestyle of wearing New Balance or Nike or whatever these shoes are that have cushion on the bottom, and they have raised heels and something called toe spring. Why don't I educate you about all of that? So this is my wife's shoe. It has all of the things that make, except for cushion. This one isn't highly cushioned, but you can imagine, lots of shoes have cushion. It has all the things that bring us far away from being barefoot. So the first thing is you can see the heel is raised up, and so that lifts our heel and shortens our Achilles tendon and our calf muscle, and it has an effect on the muscular balance of our legs, and that goes up the chain. It also has pointed toes. Our feet are not shaped like this, so it's scrunching your toes together towards the front. That narrows your base of support, and it doesn't allow for toe spread. It also has something called toe spring, which I will bring up this flat surface so you can see. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, that space right. Whoop, how do I do this? This space right here between the toe and the flat surface is called toe spring. Almost all shoes will come up here, and that lifts your toes up off the ground. Well, why does that happen, right? Our toes are when we're barefoot, our toes are on the ground. Why do you want to lift our toes? Well, that's so we don't trip over things. Maybe it's they're trying to avoid lawsuits, but it affects the way we land on the ground. It pushes the pressure farther back onto the ball of your foot, and it has an impact up the chain. Lots of shoes have tons of cushion, in the sole. This particular shoe doesn't, but some of these up here do. Brooks, tons of cushion. You can see there's heel drop here, and so This will be farther away from walking barefoot, of course. And so these are the things we want to get away with. It's kind of like pretty much 5 different aspects of a shoe that take us away from being barefoot. And my best strategy for getting towards what my belief is the best footwear, which is either nothing or minimalist shoes, and we're gonna go through a bunch of barefoot style minimalist shoes, and I'll make some recommendations. But my best strategy is to either, the expensive way is to purchase a new pair of shoes that is closer to minimalist, such as a company like Merrell, or I feel like that's a pretty well-known brand where they're like not fully minimalist or barefoot, but they're closer to it, and wear those for a few months and then go to the next step of a company that's even closer, like Nike Freeze. Those ones there are they're kind of like, closer to barefoot, and then a few months of that, and then go to the next stage, which is full minimalist footwear. That's the expensive way, because you got to buy a bunch of new shoes. The cheapest way is to either, you could start, just buy your minimalist shoes or your barefoot pair of shoes now, and then replace the insert with supportive inserts. And so you can just have a series of inserts that are less supportive, that gradually, over a period of like 6 months, reduce the support of your foot back down to whatever the normal insert for the shoe is. And this is something I've done. I've had a lot. I told you I have a history of foot problems. Here's some of my inserts that I have collected over the years. And I bought each one of these genuinely to use them. So there's my proof that I have had foot problems. And by the way, I don't have foot problems anymore. Knock on wood. Whatever my strategy was, I took the long road because I made the mistakes myself and had to learn from them. That's why I'm wanting to relay them to you, so you can learn from my mistakes and not do them. But I went to extremely supportive footwear. This is a custom orthotic. It's really hard bottom, and it's extremely high arch. Very cushiony insert on top of the cushion of the shoes. I went that direction. It feels good initially, and it actually feels amazing initially, but it takes you farther away from the way that your body needs to feel, that connected to the earth. And after a couple months, after you've adapted to this, the benefits start to subside, and then you're just farther away from natural, and it becomes a cycle. So you need even more support or more something to, it's like a tolerance you build up. And so what we want to do is the reverse. We want to gradually reduce the amount of support and distance from barefoot that a shoe is giving us, and do it in a way that does not make our body go crazy. And like I said, haywire is my best description of what happens to the body when you just drastically switch the style of your shoes. So like I was talking about, the cheaper way to do this is buy a barefoot style footwear, which we'll talk about a bunch of styles, and then have some inserts that gradually reduce you down, like 6 months. Like maybe switch your insert every 3 months and get back down towards reduced support. And I believe, even though it doesn't really make a lot of sense, because you think, cushion is better, like cushion under your heels, less shock for your spine, right? Even though that intuitively and even logically makes sense, I believe that the way that the body feels best is through a strong connection to the earth, feeling what's underneath you. And when you put cushion underneath you, you have a decreased sensation decreased proprioception would be the medical term of what you're connecting to and where you're going, and in addition, it's the same. It's repetitive. You're landing on the same weird shaped contour over and over and over again, instead of maybe there's different like angles of the ground that you're landing on when you're barefoot or wearing barefoot footwear. And that variety, as we talked about in the sitting stream, the variety is the healthiest thing for our body. The variety of the things that you're landing on and the way that your foot lands and forms, and that does not lead to repetitive trauma. But you have to be prepared for it. You have to build up to it. And this is probably my fourth time saying it in a different way. You have to gradually build your foot tolerance up and the little tiny muscles in your feet up to be able to have the resilience to do that. And that takes a long time to do. So let's get into what's next. We'll get into the shoes. Okay, I'll talk about a few different shoes. Disclaimer, I am not affiliated with any shoe company whatsoever. These are just my own personal shoes and some of my wife's shoes. And so I don't have any financial incentive or anything at all. These are just shoes I like. And that's why I'm going to talk about them. They've been helpful to me in my process. So I see Patricia says my daughter purchased Vibrams. Yeah, Vibrams are in this category of shoe. I do not own any. They are a little bit more expensive of a brand, but I probably would own them if I was willing to spend $150 on a pair of shoes. And I almost did that the other day. I'll show you a new shoe that I just got that I'm really excited about. And one other thing I just want to say, if I love the barefoot lifestyle so much, why do I have so many shoes? One, because I have a history of foot problems and I've needed support over the years. And two, I do a lot of outdoor activities, hiking, just backpacking type stuff. And you need shoes in a lot of cases to do that. I do try to hike barefoot sometimes, but in a lot of cases you need shoes. And so let's go through some of the shoes. No affiliation with anyone. Where should I start? Why don't we go in order of your strategy? If you had a strategy to get from normal, our footwear industry, shoe industry type of shoe to this like almost secret, like underground, minimalist barefoot footwear category of shoes, which should be the main part of the industry, but it's funny that it's not. So we'll go to the first shoe. This is my wife's shoe, cute little tiny shoe, Merrill. They are a good in-betweener. They have a little bit of a wider toe box, a little bit of cushion, and a little bit of heel drop from here to, you can see this is more narrow here, but it's all a little bit less than what you would find in a normal shoe. And so this would be a good in-betweener, and it's a pretty big brand. I think they sell them in most places. And so that is just an example of, you can see the difference in the toe box, and you can see the difference in the heel drop and the toe spring. This one will have some toe spring. This was kind of hard to do, but let's see if I can do it again. That's quite a bit of toe spring, but these are outdoor shoes, so they don't want you tripping over rocks and stuff. So that's middle of the road barefoot footwear. I've never owned Merrell's, so I can't comment on them. Brooks would be, actually this is even more supportive than a Merrell. This is what I used with my custom orthotic when I had a really bad foot problem, and there was all kinds of stuff going on in my foot, and this was like my injury. I went from this boot that doesn't flex at all to this shoe with this insert, and this was like my injury shoe. So this is probably the most supportive thing I have. Brooks is really good because you can get super wide. Even though they're not a barefoot brand, you can go super wide. So this is double E wide, and it doesn't scrunch your toes. It's really important to be able to spread your toes. I actually have toe spreaders. You can put these on your feet, and it helps spread your toes, because after a lifetime of wearing basketball shoes, my toes got pretty adapted to narrow shoes, and it does have an impact. Okay, so we'll put the these back. If you have a foot injury, I would temporarily recommend Brooks with like a supportive insert. They make room for inserts. Okay. This is a lesser known brand. This is probably my favorite shoe brand. It is mostly barefoot, but they do have a little bit of shape to the bottom, and they also do have a little bit of toe spring here where it comes up. This shoe actually has a really nice wide toe box, so it's not squeezing your toes together, and there's room for an insert. So when I started with these, I used this insert. What is this? Soft sole, and it fit in there, and I went from the Brooks right there to this with this supportive insert, and now I don't use any insert at all. So there's just the normal insert in here. These are my dailies. If I have to go into the clinic, physical therapy clinic, and you can't go barefoot in there, right? So I'll wear these shoes, and absolutely love this brand. They're from Boulder, Colorado. Really small brand, and they've just been amazing and durable. So super comfortable, and also barefoot. We're going to get to a point with some shoes where it's actually, I wouldn't say it's very comfortable anymore, because there's no support, and so sometimes you kind of feel like you're just walking barefoot and it's kind of firm, but that, if that's your goal, if that's what you're trying to mimic, then it can be a good thing. So let's get into another pair. This brand is called Zero. One of my shoes here is dirty. This one, I just bought both of these. They were having a huge sale. Zero is a barefoot brand. You can see how wide the toe box is. This is really important. If you're not noticing a theme here, that's one of the major things that I look at a shoe. Are they squeezing my toes together and making my feet look like this? Because even men's shoes do this. This is not healthy for the muscular balance problems that we have here. Okay, not healthy. This does not contribute. This contributes to the guy on the right, or woman on the right. Okay? This kind of shoe contributes to the one on the left. It's more natural. And so it's a very important thing to me when I'm looking at shoes. How wide is the toe box? And so that's one thing I like about Zero. I can't say a whole lot about these yet because I just got them. Zero was having a huge sale, and I bought a couple pairs. I've never owned them, and I'm hopeful. They're hiking shoes. They've got a lot of. They almost have like cleats on the bottom, real deep treads, and so I'm planning to wear these if I need a lot of grip. And I guess apparently I've worn these because they're dirty, but I didn't feel them to be uncomfortable or anything like that. They're pretty barefoot. Not a lot of toe spring, not a lot of support. So one stage beyond probably the Lems. And they're called Zero. Zero is referring to zero, zero drop. Zero drop means the heel is not lifted up like in a lot of shoes. Like in this, that is a 1 inch drop or more. Maybe even 1.5 inches drop. A zero drop shoe, there's no drop from the heel to the toe. It's the same thickness. That's natural, right? Our heel, our toe, doesn't have there's no support underneath that when we're going barefoot. So that's these. Oh, here's another Lem shoe, my work boot. Lems, same one as this. Love this brand. These boots have been amazing to me. Apparently I've worn them a lot, but incredible barefoot boots. So you can actually get boots. Look at, no heel drop, not much support. You can actually get boots that are barefoot style, and they, you know, a lot of boots these days will have so much contour. The toe spring will go be up like that, and that's pushing your toes back like that. Is not really that natural way to walk. So you can get barefoot boots too. Okay, and I saved the best for last. I'm most excited to talk about these. These are my new shoes. I haven't even worn them yet. They're called Ultras, and I put them on in REI the other day, and they were just incredibly comfortable. Actually, these are probably a middle of the range. They're not fully barefoot. They're not fully minimal. You can see there's a lot of cushion here, but there's zero heel to toe drop. Not a lot of toe spring, which is the part where the toe goes up like that. It's pretty flat. The only thing that's not very minimal about them is that there's a lot of cushion. These are going to be my long distance backpacking shoes because when you're going 10 miles a day, the cushion can be extremely beneficial. So I'm saving these for Grand Canyon or something like that. Very excited. They were super comfortable. Highly recommended, even though I've never worn them, because the second I put them on my feet, you can see they have a wide toe box. So in the strategy of getting from highly supportive shoes to barefoot shoes, this would be a good middle tier shoe to go to, from your New Balance to your like Lunas, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, which is the ultimate minimalist footwear. This would be in between those two. Okay. And I'm most excited to talk about these. These are my ultimate minimal footwear. It's basically nothing. It's basically, this brand is called Luna, Luna. And sorry that they're dirty. It rained here recently in Santa Barbara, and I must have worn them. I have no idea if I wore them in the rain, but apparently they've got some mud on them. Basically, Luna makes just a piece of rubber or sole. I don't know the material. I know they used to be made out of recycled car tire, and it's just flat, and then you just strap it on your feet, and it's a barrier between your foot and the ground, and that's it. And it's the most closely mimics walking barefoot out of any footwear I've ever seen. And there are other companies like this. I'll show you one more, but I really like the way that the Luna straps work. It's between the toe and it goes around the ankle, and you can actually take this. No, I don't have the tech strap on. There's an extra strap that you can put on, but basically it's just strapping a piece of rubber to the bottom of your foot. I feel like I'm walking barefoot, and I just am protected from the chemicals that are on our streets and sharp objects and things if you're walking in a city, or if you're out on a trail and there's rocks and stuff. This will protect you from the rocks, and you can get different thicknesses. They sell it in different thicknesses. So Luna sandals, I love this company. You cannot wear these if you have foot problems. Sorry, Luna, if you ever see this video, you should not wear these if you have a foot injury. I actually tried to go to these a little early, and then I had to back off. I started feeling like I was having a setback, and I had to go back towards more supportive shoes. I probably went to my Brooks right there for a little bit, and then I've had to work my way back towards these. So love the Luna sandals, but number 5 warning: you cannot go to these if you are used to wearing supportive footwear. You have to gradually work your way down. It may even take more than 6 months to get to something like this, to be able to have your feet to be able to tolerate something like this. Obviously, walking barefoot itself is a very healthy thing to do in preparation for this. And you may say, well, I can walk barefoot around my house just fine. Well, there's a big difference between walking barefoot all day long and only doing it when you're in your house and then having that support the rest of the day. When you're switched to something like this and you don't get that support the rest of the day, it's a massive difference. And you're also, some people, if you have carpet in your house, you're walking on carpet, and that is the support that the shoe is providing you. So just a major recommendation to take my words seriously that you need to gradually work towards stuff like this. Cool. So let's go to the chat. Let's go to the chat. I think that I've driven the point home. Yeah, I think I will show the alternative to these because my wife has them. The Luna's, the heel strap does not stay up on her foot. For whatever reason, the shape of her heel does not support their heel strap, so she has this one. And I don't even know the company, actually. Sorry, company, I don't know you, but it has Vibram soles, which is a sole company that they make soles for lots of different companies. And usually they will just sell the sole to, that's weird, sell your sole to the company, and then the footwear company will slap the top of the shoe on their sole. So I don't know, I don't want to say the wrong name here, so sorry. Oh, here we go, Bedrocks. So this company is called Bedrocks. All right, I discovered. And so these are real similar. They're a little more, they have a little more shape than the Lunas. My Lunas are molded to my feet, but when you get them, they're fully flat like this. And but the heel strap stays on her a little more. So it's a tiny bit more, a tiny bit less barefoot. Okay, so let's go to the chat, and I will take a look at what, there's a lot going on in the chat today. So Joan, since your question is program related, I'm going to get to that when I do the Q&A for the program. And so I will put that one on the wait list. Same thing with Elaine. David Wathen, hello. Patricia, hi. Helen, listening with bat ears. All right, cool. What is it, Halloween still? Okay, bat ears. I like it anyway. Patricia says, many years of wearing pumps for the office caused back issues. Now need good shoes. Best comfort, not for looks. So that's an interesting point, Patricia. You are looking for comfort, and many people associate comfort in footwear with cushion. And cushion is itself a contributor to this problem, where highly supportive shoes bring you away from natural, away from posture that we are striving for, which is the closest thing to our design, our original design. And it brings us more out of balance towards this and away from this. That's just my opinion. I do believe there is supporting research that I'm not going into today, but when you say comfort, I want you to find a comfortable shoe that is as close to, and you have to use your own judgment to go from wherever you're at now, whatever shoe you're at now, slightly more towards mimicking barefoot. That's the goal, just slightly. And if that means getting a barefoot shoe and then putting a supportive insert in it, then that's an affordable way to do it. That's the way I did it personally. Yeah, okay, and Patricia, you're the one that said my daughter purchased Vibrams. I realized after I talked about that Vibrams are mostly soles, so I don't know if they make full shoes. Elaine, what are they? What do you mean, what are they, Elaine? Holly, love my Ultras. Yeah, Ultras are the new thing on my radar, and I'm excited to wear them. I just don't want to I don't want them to be my daily, because I want to save them for like a big long backpacking trip. Elaine says, okay, Lems and Zero. Yeah, Lems are awesome. I think I mentioned they're my favorite. That's this one here. And I also have the Lems boots, the Boulder boots. Zero is spelled zero. Yeah, that's right. You can see it on the box right there. And I have no affiliation with any of these companies. Joan says, and the ones he's calling Ultra are actually spelled Ultra. Yes, that's right. Maybe my weird accent that I don't know if I have an accent, but it sounds like I'm saying Ultra, but I'm saying Ultra. David Wathen, when progressing toward minimal shoes, what adverse effects can you describe that might happen if you go too fast? That's a really good question, David. So actually, it would be really hard to predict because so many things can go wrong. And that's why I say haywire, because it's like the body can react by having knee pain, hip pain, lower back pain. I believe even neck pain can result from having a drastic change. Like if you wore these every day and your heel cord, what we'll call our your Achilles tendon is basically a heel cord, is used to being this far off the ground, an inch and a half off the ground, and then you drop down to something like this, and it's your muscular balance is not adapted to that. It definitely affects the whole chain, and at the very least, it will impact your feet. So I think the first place that you'll feel problems is your feet, and if you were to make a change like that, I would imagine you would get plantar fasciitis, which is just inflammation of the fascia on the bottom of the foot. A major change in the length-tension relationship in that fascia will irritate it, because everything that we're doing on our feet is repetitive. And so you're repetitively stretching something significantly more without having it, gradually adapt to that will cause micro trauma. So plantar fasciitis. Also, another thing that I've caused in myself is tibial tendonitis, or actually no, sorry, that's wrong. What do they call that? I'm blanking on it. I'll get back to you. But another type of tendonitis of the tendon on the inside of your foot that is often misconstrued for plantar fasciitis. I see Don coming in strong here. Let me see. Holly says, I wore shoes with a firm arch support and they started to give me bunions. Yes. We can talk about bunions for a minute. But David, hopefully that answers your question, that a lot of different things can go wrong. But plantar fasciitis would be the first thing, just inflammation, irritation on the bottom of your feet. So bunions actually are one of the most misunderstood things in all of healthcare, I believe. And people believe it's a growth on the inside of your big toe. So like right here, you'd get the bunion. It's not actually a growth. What happens is your big toe, as it's supposed to be going straight out, as it gets pushed inward, what happens to the base of the big toe? It goes outward. And so you can imagine if my thumb were the big toe, that bunion is actually right here, is a result of the toe getting squeezed inward by the shoe. And footwear, in my opinion, is the main cause of bunions. And so I started to develop them on my own feet. I wore basketball shoes for my entire childhood. So if I had a bunion, which I've started developing, what I would start working on is toe spreading, and you got to also do that gradually. So if you were ever to wear something like these toe spreaders that I showed earlier, you cannot just throw them on, wear them all day long. You throw them on for 15 minutes and walk around, and then take them off. Even if they feel good, you take them off. And then the next time, maybe 20 minutes, and then the next time, maybe 21 minutes. It's got the gradual is the best, most effective, beneficial way you can go with feet. And so that's how you can actually do some work to reverse a bunion. You can at least partially reverse a bunion by getting that toe spread back. Okay, so I see a lot coming through from Dawn. So let's go into the Q&A, because I think this is program related stuff. And Holly, yes, so that was the last one related to footwear, and we're going to go into the Q&A, and I'm going to start the Q&A with the chat since you guys are here live, and we'll prioritize chat. And the first person here, first post was from Joan, and she says, in day 3, module 1, I have a question about today's video. I don't get any lift of my pelvis unless I also press my lower back against the floor, but that means tipping my pelvis. So should I not press the small of my back against the floor too, or do I just need to press harder with the ribs to get the pelvis to lift? So it sounds like you have a pretty good understanding of this, Joan. It is going to be there's a combination of strength or weakness involved in being able to get that lift in your pelvis. And so the simple answer would be, yeah, you would just need to develop more strength in your abdominals to be able to press the back of your rib cage, the bottom of the rib cage in your back, the back anchor, into the floor even more with more pressure, and eventually that pelvis should unweight. And one of the most common statements I make is it doesn't actually matter if the pelvis lifts off the ground or elevates, or if it just unweights a little bit. It's still touching the ground, but it unweights. You get the same benefits, and that you're building that connection in your core, and those muscles will get stronger over time. That said, if your lower back connects to the floor and flattens out as a result of you connecting and pushing away with your back anchor, that's okay. Let it happen. I just don't want you to try to flatten your lower back and have the intention, I'm going to flatten my lower back. I'm going to posterior pelvic tilt. And that's what's going to cause my pelvis to elevate. That's what I don't want. I don't want you to have that intention. The intention is the back anchor. And if the lower back flattens and the pelvis tilts as a result of your intention to push away from your back anchor, then let it happen, let it go for the ride, and that's okay. Hopefully that answers your question. We're going to move on to the next one from Elaine. Am I going to be able to do these exercises with an injured shoulder? That is a good question. Module 1, yes, all of it. Module 2, yes, you'll be able to do all of it. Module 3, you may have a little bit of trouble. That's week 3. So if you go at the normal pace, like kind of fast pace where you do one module per week, by week 3, if you're injured, your shoulder is still bothering you. If it depends on the shoulder injury. If you're able to just weight bear in a quadruped position, or like on your hands and knees, if you're able to weight bear with your arms in the safe shoulder position like that, then you'll be fine. And we're asking you to kind of lift your arm up a little bit. If that's going to be a problem for you, then it may be an issue. But that said, there are things you can do to help improve your shoulder as well. I believe, even no matter what's going on with your shoulder, there are things you can do to improve it. And I don't know the shoulder injury that you have or the timeline of that injury, but that module 3 may be a little bit challenging. Module 4 will be fine. Module 5 should be fine. So it's just module 3. Actually, there's one exercise in there, the front anchor challenge, that might be a little bit of an issue. So let's keep going down. We're going down the chat right now. And let me know if I forgot your message. Anybody, if I skipped over you on accident, but I'm moving to Don Hatterley. A lot of messages from Don, so let me just kind of breeze through this real quick. I'm not going to read it out loud. Okay, so Don, overview is you had a setback on a surf trip, which I definitely remember. I remember you. I remember our conversations about the surf trip. And then you've gone back to module 1 through 4, which is excellent. I'm glad that you've decided to go back to the basics. I'm going to continue reading. You said it was really interesting at the time of the flare-up. I became aware that my muscles I had been working on to turn on during your program pretty much turned off. Yeah, that's actually a really great observation, and something I've noticed is that when you have a setback, the body does resort back to old patterns, and the deep core muscles tend to just shut off. It's like a safety mechanism. It's that protective mechanism. I can see if I can find a slide that really, I believe, really describes the protective mechanism. And certain muscles just shut off. No, that's not the one. Well, this one will kind of work for now. So this is kind of what happens when you have a setback. These muscles tighten up, and the abdominals and the glutes kind of just shut off. The deep core shuts off. And this is the position that's trying to pull you into what? The fetal position. The fetal position is our human position of protection. We just want to curl up and just stay like this until we can weather the storm or survive whatever. And these are the same exact muscles that pull you into the fetal position. It's our protective position. And so the other muscles shut off. And it's good to be able to recognize that. And since we are not actively in danger, being chased by something, or having to hide and weather a storm, we want to open back up. And going back to these early modules and reconnecting and reactivating these muscles, the deep core muscles, is an excellent thing to do with any setback. So you said reverting back to modules 1 through 4 helped me get these muscles to turn back on. After around 2.5 weeks, I'm back on track with module A. That's great to hear, Don. This is just like an awesome share. Setback, which happens to everybody, and it's about how you respond to the setback. If you're here and you are going through the program, and whether or not you've had a setback, I want you to be aware that one could happen to you in the future. And the most important thing about that setback is not what the setback did, it's how you respond to the setback. So going back to the basics, reconnecting, reactivating those muscles, it seems like it's been a good strategy for Don, so thank you for sharing, Don. So even with the flare-up, the overall trip was a success, with a large portion of the credit going to the CBT program. Great to hear, Don. I hope you got barreled. I hope you got tubed. I believe you were in, I don't know, somewhere in the Indian Ocean, I remember. So yeah, I was definitely frothing a little bit on wherever, I forget where you went. So David Wathen says, makes me think of moccasins and longevity of American Indians long ago. Yes, David, a comment about footwear. I have some moccasins, don't I? Let me grab a moccasin real quick. I guess I lost them. I had a pair of moccasins somewhere, but I lost them. But yeah, moccasins are basically just a box around your foot, and it doesn't do a whole lot except protect you from the earth. So, oh yeah, the Maldives. Glad to hear you got barreled, Don. So yeah, David Wathen, you mentioned moccasins. So the company that I use for my moccasins is down in San Diego, and I wish I had them. I guess I lost my moccasins, but if I find them, I will share them with you guys, because I can't even remember the name of the company either. Okay, so I have a bunch of questions. We're 48 minutes into the stream, and I got a bunch of questions I got to get to for the students, so let's do that. And we're going to start with a featured student, as we do every week. This week's featured student is Timothy. So Timothy just finished the program, I believe. And he left us, he contributed to our Trustpilot profile. We started a couple months back, maybe 3 months ago, to just kind of get unbiased source of testimonials, so they're not all on our website, which seems really biased, and just let people go somewhere else to leave testimonials. So thank you, Timothy, for contributing to our 5-star reviews. He says, highly recommend. I'm actually sad and grateful that today is my last day of the core balance training program. I cannot recommend it enough. I am a massage therapist and I've taken yoga teacher training and still did not have the awareness around my low back that Dr. Ryan has instilled. My back was hurting so bad because I was not engaging my deep core. I had a sway back that I did not realize was getting worse and worse until one day I could almost no longer walk. Now, 3 months after that, I feel like a new person. This is awesome. I haven't read this yet. Actually, Timothy just left this review this morning, and so this got thrown into the slides, and this is great to read. I was disappointed by the chiropractor and didn't think that was helping me much and was costing me too much. I would get massage and that would help, but I still didn't understand how I needed to use my body in order to secure my low back and not create pain. Now for the rest of my life, I know how to do just that. Thank you, Dr. Ryan. You have put together something truly wonderful and worth every dollar. I would not hesitate to take part in this course again and again. Wow, that warms my heart. I got some goosebumps. Thank you, Timothy. I just want to tell you, if you ever get to see this, Timothy, that you deserve all the credit for the progress that you made. As I always like to say, this program is a solution to back pain, but it's really only half the solution. And the other half is you listening to your body and responding appropriately and modifying the things to fit your personal, unique, individual journey and staying committed day after day after day, which is not an easy thing to do for a program like this. There are 75 days of lessons in this program, and I'm shocked that people actually complete the program. So anytime that happens, I honor you, and you deserve all the credit. So good job and keep it up. Let's go on to our questions, student questions. This one's from Ron in the Module 2 assessment. Ron says, I'm pausing to focus on front anchor before attempting to move on. I'm experiencing increased lower back stiffness with front anchors. That's pretty common, Ron. The tendency for students to overuse the lower back muscles when doing the front anchor awareness and progression, and that's because it's the pattern that we're already in. We are deeply ingrained into a movement pattern of overusing our lower back muscles. So when we get into a position like the front anchors and are asked to do this really challenging push away movement, it's our natural tendency, not natural. It's the pattern that we're in. It's that tendency of that pattern to overuse the lower back muscles, which we're trying to break out of. And the only way to break out of it is to challenge it. And so this is a challenge for you and all the students to be able to develop the ability to get this movement. This is the upper front anchor push away. I'll show it even on the big screen. So this is the push away here. Get that movement and open up our posture from rounded posture to good posture, while by using the upper back muscles and not compensating with the lower back muscles. Same thing with the pubic bone. It's the same exact concept, but below the lower back, using the hip muscles to open up the front of the hips rather than the lower back muscles to arch the lower back and compensate. So that's a hard thing to do. It's common to overuse and get soreness in the lower back muscles, so just turn down the intensity and try and regroove that pattern at a lower intensity, 1 or 2%. Ron says, back anchors are clearly producing positive results. Hip function is improving. I can lift right leg now without pain. It's still pretty weak, but definitely getting stronger, becoming more core aware. My guess is that front anchor work will get easier and more beneficial as the hip flexors relax, stretch, and heal. Wow. So you have a very good understanding, Ron, of what's happening, and you're exactly right, especially this last sentence. And I'm just glad to hear that you're making some progress and that you're going to have the patience to do what's best, which is don't skip ahead and move forward to the next thing until you feel confident with where you're at, because every new module of the program is a layer on the top of the previous layer, and if you didn't feel like you mastered the previous layer, that new layer is going to be laid on top of not the strongest foundation. So excellent. I see a post in the chat, so I'm going to just read it because I like to prioritize that. Nathan, setback on sciatica on my right foot, feels stiff to raise my foot, giving extra focus on front anchors challenge, aka bird dog. When I do that, I'm feeling muscle active on lower lumbar spine, but not on right. Okay, yeah, Nathan, I remember that you've had some issues with right-left activation. I believe it's consistent with what you said. You're getting more left activation than the right, and not really a question here, but if you one thing I can say is if you are really having sciatica, then the problem is actually probably more low down in your buttocks or in your thigh. But if the problem is up in your spine where the nerve is getting pinched, it's not a true sciatica. That the proper name for that is radiculopathy, and the sciatic nerve that gets compressed doesn't actually form until it gets out into your basically in your buttocks. That's where the sciatic nerve forms, and it often gets pinched by the piriformis. So if that's what's happening, you're getting it pinched as it goes through the piriformis or even farther down the chain, then that's where the problem can be addressed. But I'm going to guess that most likely it's just a common thing people call sciatica, but it's actually the nerves getting pinched in the spine. And it'll depend on what's causing that. Is it stenosis, which is a really common cause, or is it a disc bulge or a disc herniation pushing on that nerve? And depending on that, there are different little tricks you can do, but the overall strategy is going to be the same, and I believe that's what you're doing. You're listening to your body, you're adjusting as needed, and the bird dog is an excellent one for left-right imbalances in the beginning of the program. Later in the program we address left-right imbalances more directly, but this is the best place to start. So with no question, that's my response, but I think it sounds like you're doing the right thing, and just prioritize above everything else. Like I wish I could stand on a mountaintop and shout this, but when you're doing bird dog or front anchors challenge, the core connection, the pubic bone to rib cage connection, is a million times more important than whatever you're doing with your arms and legs. These are just unimportant distractions. I don't care what you do. You could flip them out to the side, whatever. As long as you have that strong connection and you're able to breathe into it, that's what matters. And the more you lift your leg, the farther you lift it out, whatever angle, that's a challenge to the connection. And that's why we call it the front anchors challenge. And it's a different exercise than bird dog, even though it looks exactly the same, because what's happening up here is very different. Bird dog is so much emphasized on how your leg looks or how high you're lifting it, and I just don't care. I really don't think that's very important. So let's go to the next question. I guess it's this one from David. Yeah. So kneeling push away, David says, yes, I believe this technique is for me. The old way was too much. I'm very tight in the right hip flexor, but not at all in the left. I'm starting to use my mind to intend pubic bone forward during this exercise, and also from you teaching on walking last Wednesday. I think it is working that direction. But in time, will I know for sure? It's interesting because I don't fully understand the question. So if this is from David Wathen and you're here, maybe you could clarify your question. I think it is working that direction, but in time, will I know for sure? Pubic bone forward is the direction. Let's keep going. Also doing the bridge progression with foam roll. It's only my right hamstring that cramps, not my left. I walk my dog at least a mile every day for years, but now think I've been overusing my right leg quads the whole time. Yeah, so definitely it's common that, there's a left-right imbalance in the hip flexors and the amount that we use them, even for something as functional as walking. But I don't think walking would be the cause, as long as you don't have like a one-sided injury where you're favoring one side, maybe a knee injury or a foot or a hip, and you're limping. Limping is a massive contributor to left-right imbalances caused by walking with a limp. So if you have a history like that with an injury on one side and your limp is so ingrained in your gait pattern that you don't even know you're doing it, that could be a contributor. But otherwise, if you're walking pretty naturally, evenly on both sides, it should be helping. And the pubic bone forward is a great intention to have. So it might be something else, like the way that you sit, if you always cross your leg over one way, or if you always rotate one way to do something, or if you just standing like this, leaning on one leg like that, and you don't even know it, but you do that 80% of the time. Those are the types of things that we can start paying attention to, and do it the opposite. Now, okay, for a few weeks, I'm going to stand the opposite way and try to balance that out. So a lot of factors that go into this. The one hamstring cramping and not the other is probably correlated with this hip flexor thing. And I don't see a follow-up in the chat from you, so it might be a different David. But yeah, the way that you'll know is your body will communicate to you, David. So continue listen to it, and not only the pain or the cramping, but listen to the good feelings that it sends you, because those are equally as important. Not more important, not less important, equally as important as the negative symptoms. So when your body sends you good feelings because you did something right, that's a communication to do more of it, because your body likes that. Oh, David, this is you. Okay, I guess what I mean is, when you did your 5,000-mile trek, and did you know or feel pubic bone forward? I understand your question. So my trek was 9 or 10 years ago, and so I'll have to really think back. It was kind of like, maybe on the first day or the first week, I wasn't really sure. But when you do something, we were averaging like 19 miles a day. Okay, that's where my first foot problem started, by the way. If you've been here the whole stream, foot problems, right? I did a 500-mile walk. My very first foot problem started walking average 19 miles a day for 30 days. So, footwear. I won't get into that, but footwear. I will just say that. I would say that, after a while, David, yeah, it felt more natural, but I didn't know. I think intention is extremely powerful over time, but it's not very powerful in the instant. So if you're looking for a short-term pubic bone forward, then you just try and control it, right? Squeeze my glutes. But if you're just trying to have the subtle intention of doing it, and you're not trying to control how that happens, it's much more effective over time. And I think on one 30-minute walk, you might not feel it, and it'd be hard to know. But if you go walking for 6 hours, or if you go walking every day, with this intention, you'll get better at it, and it will have more of an effect. And it's very subtle, and that's the way that the body likes to change, is in gradual adaptive type way. So I wish I had a better answer for you. You can start to feel it especially as your hip flexors loosen up, because it allows the pubic bone to go forward more. So it just takes some time. Okay, so next one. Hopefully that answered your other question, David. Let me know if not. I'm going to move on to the next one, which is Laura, I guess? No, Angela. Yeah, Angela, in back anchor awareness. I have been a yoga instructor for 15 years, and now forward folds have become painful. I have always taught the pelvic tilt for back therapy. Focusing on the ribs is new to me and makes a lot of sense. After tripping on my dog and landing on my butt, I suffered a low disc injury as well as reactivating a previous L4-5 injury. I'm so happy to be learning from you. I have high hopes of getting back to a baseline of feeling great, as well as learning better tips for teaching my class. Thank you. All right, Angela, great to have you in the program. And no question here, but just happy to have another, yoga or health professional. And we've had quite a few yoga instructors come through, and you guys seem to do really well with this stuff, because I think that yoga instructors in particular are good with the mind-body connection. And so my best advice to you, Angela, is to forget everything you know, apply that mind-body connection, but just kind of go through this program with a baby's mindset, blank slate, and just operate from that pure intention. And the path is laid out for you. So the biggest challenge for other healthcare professionals in this program is that they know too much, and the learning in the program gets convoluted by the existing knowledge, because you can't unknow what you already know. So it kind of distracts, and what we're really trying to do is model after the way a baby learned, and the baby didn't know anything when they first learned, and that pure blank slate is the best way to go. So in some cases, people that have no education about the body do really well in the program. Let's see, I got something coming through in the chat, so we'll take a look. You're welcome, David. Nadine says, "Hi, doctor. I have pain in my back about 5 months from now. I had 3 injections in my back. It didn't help me. Please." Nadine, I don't know if you're in the program or not, but that's okay that you have pain in your back, because a lot of us here have had pain in our back, and you can do things to improve your situation. That's the good news. There are steps you can take. The biggest problem is that for most people is that they don't know what to do, and the things that they try don't work. But it just kind of feels like to me that this program has found something that kind of works for a lot of people. And so if you're not in the program, there's a free trial. You can give it a try. And if you are, then the commitment is the biggest factor. So, just 15 minutes a day, be patient, and just follow the protocol. And I'll be here to guide you along the way. Guillermo, good to see you here. One of our core members showing up. He's shown up on more streams than most. So I'm so happy to see you here, still here, Guillermo. And let's move on to the next question. Next one is from Laura. In the Module 1 assessment, are we supposed to engage the back anchor while standing, moving around? Not yet. You're not supposed to, but you can. If you start applying the back anchor while standing and moving around, Laura, then you're just a little bit ahead of the game, but we're going to get there. But I'm not asking you to do that yet. Everything that I'm asking you to do is written down or in the video, and so there's nothing that is there's no expectations for you to do more than what's being asked, because we will get there, and it's just another layer on top. But what's most important is that you really, really grasp the module that you're on before going to the next one. And then when we add that layer, it'll be so much easier. But that said, if you feel like you're getting it and you want to apply and start working on it and standing and moving around, it potentially wouldn't be a bad thing to just get a little bit ahead of it, because it's a big transition when we do apply this change. Laura also says, also, I feel like I tense my shoulders trying to learn to relax those while pushing back ribs in ground. That's pretty common. Yeah. Is visualizing a cylinder with breath coming out lower back enough? I notice my ribs and stomach do not move much. Does that sound correct? I have not moved on from day 7 as not positive I have it down. Okay, so the tensing of the shoulders is most likely a compensation for just a little bit of weakness in the abdominal muscles, which is totally fine and normal, very common. It's part of the pattern. So you just want to keep working on this stuff. The back anchor progression is a great way with the marching. Is a great way to strengthen your abdominals. And what's happening is because you need more strength, you're recruiting more muscles and more of your army of muscles to try and accomplish the goal, which is bring your rib cage down. And so that's bringing in more muscle groups, and the shoulders are a very common one to tense in that effort, that increased effort to accomplish the goal. But as those abdominals get stronger, it'll be easier, and you won't have to recruit as many muscle groups to accomplish the goal. So the next question was, is visualizing a cylinder with breath coming out lower back enough? Is it enough? It's more than enough. Yep, because the only thing that you need to do is have the intention of breathing into your lower back. And if you want to add more visualizations to that, then and it's helpful to accomplish the pure and simple intention, then that's great if it helps you. But it's more than what you need to do to accomplish the goal of those abdominal muscles having a very natural amount of contraction, and which muscles are involved, the body knows. And so the intention does it. But the visualizations are helpful for some people. And so, yeah, I think that's definitely enough, or more than enough. I notice my ribs and stomach do not move much. It's okay if they don't move a whole lot. On the exhale, you'll want the ribs to come down into the lowest expiratory position. And then the goal on the inhale is for them not to really raise up too much. We don't want the rib cage to flare too much. So yeah, not a lot of movement is okay, and we want more of an even keel, even 360-degree expansion around the entire core. So there will be less expansion just coming out the belly, but it gets more spread out. Okay, and so it feels like there's less movement, but it's just more spread out. I did see some action in the chat, so let's take a look. Nadine says, "Doctor, please help me to get in the program." Okay, Nadine, I believe there's the link in the description of this video down below. So you can, we ask everybody to do an assessment to just make sure you are a good fit for the program. It takes, 5 minutes. And if you haven't watched the masterclass, then you can do that. And that's the first place to start. Masterclass, and then take the assessment, and those links should be down below in the description below this video. Be happy to help you for sure. Nathan says, I thought I was fighting piriformis issue, had it very thoroughly checked out. Doctor ruled it out and pointed back to my L5 disc being the issue. Nerve conduction test pointed to L5. Yeah, so that's the most likely and common thing. People, call it sciatica, table talk really, but technically it's radiculopathy, and I kind of knew what you meant. My last MRI in 2020 had mild, moderate stenosis. Okay, so most likely, Nathan, moderate stenosis could potentially be enough to irritate those nerves, and so you are going to benefit from biasing your pelvis towards a posterior pelvic tilt, and this program is designed for you. That was me. It was stenosis. I had radicular symptoms in my legs, and we want to open up the back of the spine. The one difference with you and me is that you're having that left-right issue where you're not getting that activation on the left side, and so there is another element going on there, and it's going to be just a continual journey to keep reflecting on what in your life is potentially happening on an asymmetrical level. Maybe it's driving. Maybe you drive a lot. That's a very asymmetrical activity. And if not, maybe something else, and to be able to gradually restore that balance by doing things the opposite way, and working on activating that side that you're having trouble activating. Nathan, you say, I'm also seeing positives from the course in the pubic bone forward and feel my pelvis winning the tug of war. Oh, that's huge. Okay. First of all, being able to feel your body and tune in your body like that is huge. Second of all, feeling yourself win the tug of war, much more once you start winning the tug of war, the benefits will start coming in over a period of months. So be ready for benefits to come if you're starting to win the tug of war. Love hearing that. When I flex my big toe on the right foot, I can feel the nerve being tugged on something. Okay. So that, Nathan, potentially means you've got a double crush going on. If your nerve is as sensitive to being tugged as just flexing, or is probably dorsiflexing your big toe, lifting it up, then that nerve is not sliding through the groove. So if you have a physical therapist, it sounds like you have a physical therapist, I recommend looking into some nerve flossing and getting that nerve to glide through the groove a little more, because it seems like it might be stuck somewhere, and that can be contributing to the issue. I'm going to go back to the slides, and we're going to keep going through. We got 3 more. One is from Deanna in the push-away concept. That's day 2. Hi, I'm doing well with the program so far. The push-away has really got both psoas muscles fired and tight. This is a chronic problem area for me. So no question here, but Deanna, I feel you. The psoas, it's a pattern just like those lower back muscles. They want to turn on and be part of everything. They want to come to every party you're having with your body, and they want to be part of it, and they want to be a big player in whatever movement or effort you're doing. And so the trick, along with the protocol of the program, to try and activate these other muscle groups, to have the other muscle groups come to the party, so the psoas can then later quiet down and be like, okay, I'm not as needed to do everything. The other strategy is to turn down the intensity and try and get this psoas muscle to be as quiet as possible while still having the same intention. So if you're doing this push away in sitting and you're doing it at 10% and the psoas is firing up too much, bring it down to 2% and see if you can do this same intention that has nothing to do with the psoas going up, right? We're pushing down into our surface, and the reaction is the body going up. So all we're doing is pushing down, and the psoas doesn't do that. So they're just coming to this party uninvited. See if you can do it at 1% or 2% without that psoas firing up. And that's very, very, very low intensity. So almost nothing. And that's still effective. Next question. You're welcome, Nadine. Next question from Max in Module 1 assessment. Immediate improvement in my low back. After a few days, I even felt my back cracking in ways it hasn't cracked before. And the relief was legendary. Oh, that's amazing. So I believe this is the first time we've had someone describe the relief as legendary in the program. So good on you, Max. Love hearing that, and keep it up. I can't wait for you to get to Module 3. Yeah, can't wait for you to get to Module 3, where we start mobilizing that thoracic spine, and you'll start feeling your upper back moving in ways that that are legendary. Okay, so we got Howard. I think Howard is here. Howard was here. Or was Howard here? No, Howard wasn't here. Okay, so we got one from Howard. This is the last one of the day, and this is a long one, so I'm going to try and read through it very quickly. And Howard has had a bit of a setback, I believe, so here we go. This is posted in Unilateral Anchor Triad. That is, I believe it's Module 8. says, after some time, I was feeling great again and back in action. I then restarted modulate, and when I felt my strength come back, I noticed some weakness after the side plank, and it stayed with me, so I took 2 days off. On the third day, when I wanted to get back to the program, my back went out again, like fully. I wonder if it's coincidence that it keeps happening during the same module. I'm pretty sure it's just a coincidence, but worth noting. The pain is really debilitating and frustrating that it's happened twice. Yes, my habits haven't been at their peak, but I've gone from feeling my best and strongest to being unable to stand straight or walk normally. I notice extreme weakness in moving my legs, i.e. back anchor zone, low intensity marching. So extreme weakness, okay? When I stand up from sitting down, I have trouble standing straight and I'm mostly locked in 45-degree position. I know that I will snap out of this eventually, but I can't figure out why it keeps happening, especially since I've felt my best ever throughout your program. I have a lot going on psychologically at the moment and have read Sarno's book, so I wonder if it's all mental, but there still seems to be odd after all this progress I've made. I've gone from my peak to my nadir, I don't know how to say that, nadir, twice now. Curious if you can shed light on why I can't stand up straight in these moments and why it's so painful to go from sitting to standing. Okay, Howard, so I have a good, I remember the history, your previous posts. I have a pretty good grasp on what you're saying here, so here's my best response. One, whenever you have a setback, so we're not going to talk about why the setback happened yet. We're going to talk about what happens when you have a setback. We did talk about this earlier in the stream, but whenever you have a setback, the body will resort to the position that is the safest position for the body. It feels threatened, it feels dangered, and it will say, I need to go to safety. And that safety position is the fetal position. That is the position of safety for human beings and almost all mammals, and even non-mammals, even insects. They curl up and they protect. And part of that fetal position mechanism, the protective mechanism, is the hip flexors pulling the legs up into the chest, like this. And the body is doing this subconsciously, unconsciously, maybe you don't even know it, and part of that is hip flexors tightening. When the hip flexors tighten so much, guess what you cannot do? You cannot stand up straight. You cannot get there because the hip flexors are too tight. And so this is the biomechanical reason why you can't stand up. It's most likely tight hip flexors because that's what keeps your body in that flexed position. Why are they tightening? To protect you. Why are they protecting you? You had an injury, you had a setback, the body doesn't feel safe. It could be emotional, it could be psychological, it could be physical. I only bring up the psychological because you did mention you have a lot going on, and this is a real thing with back pain. If the body doesn't feel safe, if the mind doesn't feel safe, the body reacts the same way and goes to protective position. And so I did read that you said you've been in this program, you have gone from your peak of feeling good to your nadir. I will pronounce it nadir twice. So 2 times. Felt really amazing. Felt the worst ever in my life. Felt really amazing. And so the only pattern, the only consistent thing right now is that there's a lot of volatility in what's going on with how you feel and with your body. And so we can't say that I cannot speak whether the peaks are more effective than the troughs or the low points. You're experiencing both, and so it does seem potentially like one of the things going on, whatever is going on in your personal life that's causing you to have, you said you have a lot going on, it's maybe having an impact on your body, but just to understand why your body is reacting that way, it's right now is not in growth mode. It's not in prosper mode. It's not in thrive mode. It's currently in protection mode. And protection mode in the physical manifestation is fetal position and tight hip flexors and can't stand up straight. And if you go and try and do things that involve standing up straight when your body's saying no, don't do that, then it will potentially lead to more issues. There will be compensations. There will be the spine being pulled on by the hip flexors when you're trying to stand up straight and the hip flexors aren't letting you. There's going to be a compensation mostly happening in the lower back, and it will affect it affects the whole chain, but it really does affect the lower back because that hip flexor muscle attaches, one of them, the psoas, attaches directly to those vertebrae in the lower back. So my best recommendation to you, Howard, is to go back to the basics again, because we need to. It's not a matter of like this is going to take 1 week or 2 weeks or whatever timeline. It's a matter of whenever you can get your body to settle down and your mind to settle down. So just go back to the basics and connect and remind your body of these healthy connections, these safe connections that we are trying to groove into your movement patterns, and reconnect to your back anchor and reconnect to your front anchors. And don't go into those advanced modules yet until you feel a little bit of consistency with these connections, and until your body can feel safe to do them. And maybe that's what you did. Maybe that's what you felt like when you went back to module 8 last time, that you felt like you were doing well and your body felt good and you're going to get back into it, and another setback happened. And so it does lead me to believe that it may not have been enough time. There is a point in every injury cycle where you feel good, and this is the highest risk time period for re-injury. You feel good, everything's feeling good, but the tissues, the physical manifestation of whatever's going on, are not at full strength yet. So you can apply this to any injury. My knee injury, before I got fully back to surfing, I was actually feeling pretty good. And I had been educated that the tissues may not be fully strong yet in physical therapy school. So I was aware of that, and I waited a few extra weeks, even though I was feeling like I could go surfing, just for those tissues to catch up and fully heal before I jumped back in the water, to prevent re-injury. And that is the time period, that buffer period is the time period when most re-injuries occur. So give it a little extra time, give your body some time to feel that confidence, and don't go back, jump 2 feet in the second you start feeling good. Give it some time, okay? So that's my best advice for you. Looking at the chat here, yes, stream topic, Asti, thank you. I think you're talking about what I was just, my soapbox rant. Of course, I'm passionate about this stuff, so apologies if that's off-putting for anybody. I feel very strongly. And thank you all for being here. I think that was everything. That was a good 1.5-hour stream today, and I hope that you found some benefit from it. If you enjoyed the stream, hit the like button, help YouTube spread the word to other people that are looking for a solution, and help the algorithm find those people. Comment on the videos, like the videos, and that's really how it works. That's what I've learned. It's not my expertise, but that's what they tell me. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for catching the replay. Thank you for investing in yourself. Elaine says, whoa, I'm guilty of that. Feel better. Do what mind thinks is normal and hurt worse. Yeah, so we're all living this same journey, and a lot of us can relate to experiencing these things. So luckily that was one of the things I learned in physical therapy school. PT school was a lot of knowledge. Not a lot of it, I didn't feel a lot of it was applicable, but I got some gems out of PT school, some real gems, and that was one of them, was the lag period between tissue strength and feeling good. So being aware of that can help prevent re-injury. Yeah. You're welcome, David, and thank you guys all for being here. And until next time, go do something for your body that is good for it and pay back your tissue debt. If that means going for a walk, then go for a nice long walk, pubic bone forward, and or if that means getting down on the floor, then get down on the floor and connect to your core. All right, guys. Thank you again, and I'll see you next week.